Hi, I'm Jill Chivers from Shop Your Wardrobe.
And I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style. We read an article recently about the effect of social media on the speed of fashion and fast fashion and the turnover in people's wardrobes. And it's really quite fascinating because it is one of those things that, because I take photos of my outfits regularly, I'm aware, sometimes I'm thinking, oh, I've already seen this one before, so, you know, it's that sort of thing that I can understand. There is this, it feels like a pressure to have something new. Yet one of my things that's really important is a lot of my wardrobe is not new. I'll bring in a piece here and there, but that's what I do. It's a very slow acquisition on the whole. And it's like, for me, it's like what I have to do is work lots of different outfits from the same existing pieces, and sometimes you will see the same thing twice, and I think that's fine. I remember, I think it's Kate Middleton, who is like, oh, she wore the same dress, and but in some ways people also go, that's great, because really, does she have to wear something different every time she steps out of a palace? Because she doesn't step out of the house.
That's right. And I think that's the difference too between fast fashion and slow style. And in this piece that we read, what they were sharing was that there are women who have high profiles on particularly Instagram, who are turning over their wardrobes really quickly because they've been seen in that outfit once and they don't want to be seen in it again. And when we were chatting earlier, you were saying you're aware of someone on Instagram who will wear the same thing more than once, but she comments on it. Yes. The fact that it's the fact that it is a noteworthy point that I know I'm wearing the same outfit, everybody, it's okay.
But it's also, there's a justification.
Exactly.
Like, I have to justify that you know, I like slow fashion and that it's okay to wear the same thing twice.
Yeah.
And the reality with most social media is that things whiz by so fast, most of us miss it. There's some sort of statistic we see, maybe a quarter of the stuff that goes through our feed. So, and that's if we're regular social media users versus if you're someone who's an irregular social media user, you probably see 1/100th of what potentially you could see. So it's that, you know, like we miss so much stuff. And that's fine. Because I think it's bad to be on social media all the time.
I couldn't agree more.
But I do know that it feels like this pressure to go, I should have new, I should have new, I should have new, or I should have different. So it's this, you know, this different thing, and I think that is then driving people to constantly acquiring
and disposing of fashion. And you know, social media, I think, is also be interesting to see any studies that come out about how social media is changing so many things about our lives, but it can drive a narcissistic attitude that I'm constantly being looked at and I am constantly being evaluated. And the truth is, whilst you may have a lot of followers, whilst you may get a lot of attention, no one's really tuned in at that, you know, high level. Certainly not to the point where you need to dispose of the items that you've purchased at that kind of rate. And there's so many reasons that people can develop a disposable attitude to fashion. One is that it is so cheap, and it's some of the way some of those clothes are presented almost presents them in a disposable fashion. The whole advertising campaign has this sense of transience around it. But to me, it's so destabilizing. The whole idea that you do not have some sort of base or platform on which slow style is built. I actually am concerned about what that does to someone's sense of self-worth. That there is nothing solid there. There's no colour scheme, there's no sense of silhouette, there's no sense of personality. All of that is all just whimsical, it's all just fog.
It's interesting, I had a conversation last night with one of my 7 Steps members, and she said she'd been following another blog where they are constantly recommending, buy this thing from this shop, buy this thing from this shop, buy this thing from this shop. And she said, I did that. She said, it didn't work for me, and it didn't like me, and it wasn't me. And she said, you know, I really appreciate the way you actually go in to understand yourself and then choose the items that work for you as an individual. And she said, I find it frustrating sometimes and I think this is part of why this is also developed, is it's this, it's not delayed gratification, but there's an element that when you are learning about yourself, you have to delay the gratification.
The purchasing gratification, yeah.
Or that I'm just going to find all the perfect pieces immediately. And for me, every wardrobe, the best wardrobes are built over time.
Absolutely.
And it's a piece here and it's a piece there, and they're an expression and they're a love piece, and it's at least an 8.
Yeah.
And all those kind of criteria which I talk about on the blog. And I have actually I recently read something, I was reading some Reddit thread that somebody had linked to me, and they said, oh, some great information, but there's not enough about fashion. I thought, you've missed the point.
Yeah.
I am not going to give you that this is exactly what you need to buy unless you're coming to me as a client and we're going on a personal shopping trip.
Yes.
But because I don't know everybody out there, so I can't give out buy this thing, buy that thing, because it'll be right for one person and wrong for 3 million other people.
But that's antithetical to your entire message anyway, which is about know thyself and then find a style and express your authentic self through that. So that's, I think, another reason why that just wouldn't work.
But it is, I mean, this is where it is that sort of element where we want the quick fix.
Yeah.
And maybe when we see people on Instagram wearing something and they're like, great, and every day they wear something different, it feels like, well, everybody else is getting this quick fix.
Yeah.
And so maybe if I just go out and buy another piece, that'll be the thing that fixes everything.
And then FOMO kicks in, fear of missing out. There's this whole trend that's happening that I am not a part of. But you know what else that you do that I really, really love, and that totally gels with my message, is start with what you already have, that shopping your wardrobe piece, and becoming the curator. I love that term, curate your own wardrobe. Now for some people, you know, that's going to be less appealing than it will be to others, but that whole idea that you're actually building something that's going to be a tool for making you look great, feel great, build your self-esteem, ease your pathway through life, all of those kinds of things. And that's really what clothing does. Yes. Clothing is one of the things most linked to sense of self-worth and identity. It has enormous power.
And I think, I mean, there's a whole research area called Enclothed cognition, which is really fascinating. And that shows, I mean, there was a very simple little experiment they did, I can't remember which university, where they had a group of people, they gave them some sort of IQ or intelligence test to get a baseline. And then they gave half the people a white coat and said, can you just pop this painter's coat on? And then they gave the other half people exactly the same white coat and said, can you just pop this doctor's coat on? Right. Then they got them to do an intelligence test again. Interestingly, the people wearing the doctor's coats, intelligence rose. The people who wear the painter's coat, intelligence went down.
Incredible. So
when people say what you wear doesn't matter, I go, but you can actually become more intelligent when you think you're wearing an intelligent person's garment.
Yeah. At the very least, it matters and it makes a difference. Because if it didn't, we could all swap clothes and it wouldn't make a difference to us. There would be no clothing that is there for religious or cultural purposes. Those things would be eradicated because it doesn't matter. But we know it does. It matters enormously. Those kinds of symbolic things that exist in the practical world have enormous meaning and enormous power. And so the idea that clothing doesn't matter or make a difference is ridiculous.
Yes. So this is where it's worthwhile thinking about that. If you are looking at an Instagram feed and thinking, oh, I need this new thing, you know, maybe just take a step back, take a moment to reflect and go, am I reading, you know, what's the reason? Is it because, you know, it's fresh, it's new, it's different, and we all have probably a bit of, there must be some sort of innate drive that does that too. It's just advertisers and retailers have managed to get us to really get on board with this. Yeah. Or is it feeling like, if I don't have the new thing, there's something wrong with me? Like, there's a lot that goes into this, and that it's often worth questioning that what's the reason why? And I know it's like, a lot of people say, well, I couldn't have an Instagram feed because I don't have something new every week. Yeah. It's like, well, neither do I. I repeat things and I just put things together in different ways. And part of that for me then is pushing myself to be more creative with what I already own. Yeah. But it's also knowing that very few people see everything. people aren't watching you in the same way you might think they are.
Exactly. And you know, nothing happens on social media by accident. That is a completely contrived, engineered, controlled environment. And I think, for me, it reminds me of shopping environments,
Yes.
which is also controlled and contrived and engineered. And you just need to have your wits about you.
Yes.
You need to be alert in that environment, because you can find yourself down some rabbit hole, sparking some emotion or some thinking process, and before you know it, you're down a pathway that you don't want to be on. And I am very careful about how I interact with social media. It's time boxed, it's short. There are things that I just do not respond to, conversations I do not engage in, because for me it's not the platform, it's not healthy for me, it's not helpful for my emotional and psychological well-being.
Yes.
I unfollow things that, you know, provoke me.
Yes.
Yeah. So your social media can be really fantastic, but it's a tool. Use it wisely would be what I would advocate.
And don't feel that you have to be following every fashion trend for the sake of it.
Yeah.